In a community where you can talk about the newest things and get a shit ton of attention for a few days. In a community where some people are allowed to use text to speech, and others aren't. In a community where weekly uploads aren't acceptable. In a community where... Okay, I'll just fucking stop with the intro already. Digital Descent is the newest kind of hyped up extreme demon to come out of nowhere basically. I'm not just covering this because it's a relevant level that could get me views, mostly, but I legitimately want to talk about this level. I will also mention Artificial Ascent quite often in this video as it is the prequel to this level. Okay, anyways. The gameplay in this level is overall a mixed bag in my opinion. Some parts of it really stand out like this spider part, but others are honestly kind of bland and look like someone threw Subsonic and every other generic 2.1 level into a blender and somehow made something out of it. This level honestly has some really interesting and unique parts in it gameplay wise, but it also has the typical straight flying parts and fast square parts that every extreme demon seems to have now. Like, this entire stretch seems pretty uninspired. Just like some of the Sonic levels, this kind of gets less interesting to me as it drags on. Maybe it's because of how kind of mellow and repetitive the song is. This part, which I'm pretty sure is Crazy Man 50's part, looks pretty cool but doesn't really fit into the rest of the level. In general, the gameplay feels kind of typical and bland in some parts. I know I use these two adjectives a lot, but they're really useful in describing some levels. There's not much to comment on overall regarding this level and its gameplay, but the visuals are where it gets more interesting in my opinion. Comparing it to Artificial Ascent is kind of hard. Artificial Ascent seemed to stick to more of a pattern than this one did, with a lot of open ship parts and square parts. This one seems a lot more hectic with more going on, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it doesn't really seem to fit well together. Now this is mostly what I wanted to talk about. Now, like the original Artificial Ascent, the parts in this level seem like they're from completely different levels, which is something you see pretty often in mega collabs. And the answer is obvious, because all the parts are built by different people. You have this weird part that makes no sense. This part that looks exactly like the one in Subsonic. This weird open wave part with some cool background effects. This part that looks like the end of Fusion, and this part that looks like a typical 4-star 2.1 level. While not all the parts look good, they at least look pretty unique. Mostly. But I still feel like they should have stuck to more of a theme here. In Artificial Ascent, don't get me wrong, some parts of it look completely different, but it still mostly stuck to this particular colorful shiny theme that's hard to explain. Which might seem boring to some people, but I personally think it would work better if the parts blended together at least a little like in other mega collabs. Like Bloodbath. The parts look different, but still keep to the same style. Some parts look really cool, like this title thing at the end. I mean, just look at this. This part has a cool rainbow aesthetic to it, but the block design is literally a solid color. It's like they're attempting to find a style but half failing. Besides some of those parts, it's not really notable. The music sync in this level honestly isn't very notable. None of the parts really completely sync except maybe some parts around the end like Crazy Man 50's part. And whoever's part this is. Overall, when the music changes, the level changes, but it doesn't really try to sync up with every little beat like some levels do. As usual, it's just acceptable. I'll have to say the song is pretty great. Even though it is a little repetitive, I'm glad they chose a relatively underused song like this, even though some of the sound effects in this song are bizarre. Now I gotta say, this level is definitely unique. Some parts really stand out. Pretty much every section has something special to it. They clearly got some of the most talented creators in the game to work on this level, and like I said, the song choice is pretty original too. Now I hate to cut this part short like this, but there's one more thing I wanna talk about, and you can probably guess what it is. While it no longer is, this was once number 1 on the demons list, and while this isn't a relevant topic because it was moved, I still wonder what made the list moderators think that was a good idea. A lot of people at the time were asking my thoughts on this, and I honestly think, without even playing most of the levels in the top 10, that this demon shouldn't even be in the top 10 extreme demons. At the very least it beats Step to Hell in my opinion with its really precise timings and sadistic difficulty curves. This level to me almost looks like a difficult insane demon, but I guess I'm wrong because Combined said it was the hardest level he's beaten. Yeah, okay. Overall I'd say Digital Descent does a very good job of following up to the original because of how unique it is. I really don't know why this is a sequel to Artificial Ascent though. I really don't see many similarities besides maybe the color scheme. It's just weird and unnatural in some parts. Anyways, I can't think of how to end this video, so I'll just join my Discord server thing. RiverCiver's cancer hole if you feel like it for updates and communication. Here's the link and my tag. Contact me here, not in direct messages.
The laws of man and society at large. How should we live enlightened now? What does John Locke say? To understand political flow, we must consider the natural state of man, the state of perfect freedom. What does Locke say? The natural state is all through equality, where